I think people want a leader who has common sense and tries to find common ground. I'm supported by over 200 Republicans. I'm supported by the former Vice President Dick Cheney, former Congressmember Liz Cheney.
So by now, you probably already heard about Kamala Harris's first solo interview that she choked in. And one of the biggest questions that she was asked is, what is her message to Trump supporters? Now, this brings us to the issue of this video, where in American politics, it's not that they necessarily hate Trump. They also hate the people who support Trump. And we're talking about the corporate media and Democrats and the establishment. So let's start here.
Also to do things, Ellie, that one would think are career-ending. The way he desecrated Arlington National Cemetery would be career-ending for a normal politician. His constant lies. But even this piece about saying, well, my building was the tallest until, you know, they brought down the World Trade Center. Now it's the second tall. I mean, everything he does is despicable.
The reason why it doesn't end his career is because his supporters are just as despicable. All right. Like Trump's whole thing, he's a narcissist, right? And so his whole thing is to have a complete lack of compassion and empathy for everybody else. It's all about him. That's why he lies about 9/11. It's all about him, me. He's probably the least compassionate president we've had in 200 years since Andrew Jackson. And it works for him because his supporters are just as ungenerous and have just as little compassion and empathy for others. So when he is seen out there, essentially, as you guys have put it, desecrating our national symbols, when he is seen out there putting himself above all else, his supporters also want that to be the case. They want to do that in their own lives. That's how they think of themselves. And that's why it never hurts Trump when he takes these crass and classless actions. It's because his supporters think that being crass and classless is actually kind of cool.
Now, you guys already know how I feel about MSDNC. And their divisive rhetoric, which I think is the worst. Probably you could argue it's worse than ABC. I mean, let's be honest, right? They get really triggered over every single thing. I don't think they will ever say anything nice about Trump in their network. Now, this gentleman that's on this show, he definitely is clueless about who Trump supporters really are. They are making the classical mistake, which is why Trump will always be underestimated as a political figure, because when they see Trump, they think everybody who supports him is the same. And that's just not the case whatsoever. Now, before we go any further, let's go back to the very beginning.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up.
Okay, that's the infamous deplorable line. No wonder she did not become the president. It was a grave mistake that she made. Some people think it actually costed her the election. Now, I don't necessarily believe that Kamala Harris's campaign will make the same mistake. Okay, they do know that. However, they're not getting any help from the mainstream media, who continues to attack Trump supporters. And obviously, that's not going to bode well for Kamala Harris. But do you know what else won't bode well for Kamala Harris? Is when she doesn't really have a message for Trump supporters.
Two final questions, if I might.
Sure.
On the appeal of the man you were running against, as you drove here today, you likely saw a lot of Trump signs. Mm-hmm. He has an historic appeal in this country. And as you are someone running against him and trying to understand that, I wonder how you distill it. What do you understand his appeal to be? And how do you speak to his voters, or maybe people who just share his values but are open to something else?
Based on experience and a lived experience, no. In my heart, I know, in my soul, I know that the vast majority of us as Americans have so much more in common than what separates us. And I also believe that I am accurate in knowing that most Americans want a leader who brings us together as Americans and not someone who professes to be a leader who is trying to have us point our fingers at each other. I think people are exhausted with that approach, to be honest with you. I think people want a leader who has common sense and tries to find common ground. I'm supported by over 200 Republicans who worked for both Presidents Bush, John McCain, Mitt Romney. I'm supported by the former Vice President Dick Cheney, former Congress member Liz Cheney. And I think people are more willing now, in light of the hate and division that we see coming out of Donald Trump, to say, hey, let's put country first. And I think that just makes us stronger and more healthy as a country. To say, look, we can all debate our differences around, various policies, but let's stop with the division. Like, enough of that. Let's bring everybody together.
Let me just get into debunking a lot of these statements, especially from the MSNBC character. I wanted to save it till we heard what she had to say. Number one, and I think this has been very obvious about American politics in this current age. One party is too busy spending most of their time denouncing, accusing, demonizing the other side of the party. And what I mean by that is Democrats, historically, since Trump has come into office, have accused Republicans, Donald Trump, and Trump supporters of being racist, of being sexist, of creating division in this country. But this is the same party who is actually doing that because they push racist policies. Like, for example, when you come out and you say that because you're a white man in America, you're racist. And the only way you could be a racist is if you are a white man. If that's not racism, then I don't know what is, right? And how the Democrat Party tries to sell black people on the idea that they are less than. So vote us into office so we can act like we're going to create policies to help you, but then we don't. Right? The repeated experience of looking at interviews where you'll have a Republican or a Democrat or a Trump supporter or a person who hates Trump. Notice when the Trump supporter speaks, what happens? Within 5 seconds, they're getting cut off. It's the same party who wants to censor people who support Trump, like they censored Trump off social media. It's the same party in Joe Biden who called Trump a threat to democracy, that they proudly said that he was the closest thing to Hitler. So if you keep saying that, aren't you creating the division in this country? Isn't MSNBC creating division in this country? Now, here's something that I want to share with you guys that I thought was uplifting and drives this point home. And it was a video created by Nicole Shanahan, who was the vice president running mate with RFK Jr. Here's the video she made about people who support Trump.
Across the Atlantic in the North American country of the United States lies a fascinating and often misunderstood collective. From its northeastern cities to its midwestern towns to its expansive west, this courageous group of individuals are most notably known for their unwavering patriotism. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of the MAGA people. As we embarked on our journey, we were judicious in taking all necessary precautions. Our media had warned us that these were a vicious, radical, and even deplorable people. Contrary to what we had been told, we found the MAGA people to be warm, loving, and even rather cheeky at times. As we spent time with the MAGA people, we learned that their mantra, "Make America Great Again," is an optimistic belief that the United States will once again prosper by returning to its founding principles of a government by and for the people. Under these beliefs, the MAGA people strive to protect America's Constitution, freedom of its citizens, health of its people, and a yearning to restore the American dream that existed not so long ago. Notice their rather wholesome, familial demeanor. They often talk about their love of family, the importance of truth, and a desire for basic human rights. As they strive to uphold the peace and harmony throughout their communities, The MAGA people are insistent on protecting their borders. However, they are not inherently confrontational, as they advocate for ending the wars and military presence abroad. Further observations reveal that MAGA people come from all walks of life, including farmers and ranchers, family-owned businesses, entrepreneurs, health advocates, blue-collar workers, and military servicemen. And just recently, the MAGA people joined forces with another group, the Maha people. Together, the MAGA and Maha have started a movement to make America healthy again. As we departed back to our native land, we couldn't help but reflect on all that the MAGA people had taught us. Once perceived as a dangerous and barbaric group, we found ourselves feeling enlightened by the MAGA's moral, ethical, and honest ways of life. One could only hope that a similar movement would eventually emerge for us.
Now let's exercise some common sense here. You can find people who are ignorant, racist, prejudiced, mean, hateful in every single political movement in this country today. Those people exist. And when those people do show their true colors, we all should denounce it, obviously. But this movement, Make America Great Again, is not inherently supported by those people. And so it's just a shame that Kamala Harris, which we know she's a puppet, so she's going to say what she's going to say, and the corporate media see Trump supporters in that way. And as smart as they claim to be, it's actually one of the stupidest mistakes they could make, especially in this current election. The second thing is, no wonder you have something called Trump derangement syndrome. As soon as you put Trump into a conversation, or Trump's name is on a piece of legislation or behind an idea that would be great for this country, one side of American politics is quick to throw it in the trash. And because of that type of attitude, this is why you will have millions of people who will vote for Trump without saying a single word. They will not tell people who they voted for. They're not going to celebrate who they voted for. They're going to silently go to the polls and cast their vote for Trump. And my final point, my wife and I, we tell people this all the time. I don't hate in my heart Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, any of these individuals that I know have gone above and beyond to get rid of Trump and to demonize people who support Trump. What I find in myself, my family, and a lot of other conservatives, we don't care about them. We care about our country. We care about getting back to those values that made the country great. And the criticism isn't on the personality of these individuals. Our criticism is on the policies and the ideology that those individuals represent. And that is the difference that they seem to not understand. And that's my opinion. What's yours? What do you guys think about, again, Kamala Harris unable to answer a question? Her message to Trump supporters is right in line with how everyone else thinks of Trump supporters. And when I say everyone else, you know who I'm talking about. The Trump deranged media hacks. Share your answers in the comments section below. Thank you so much for checking out the video today. If you want to support us, go to the link in the description below. Grab yourself a t-shirt. Stay grateful, stay focused, and stay true. Peace.